Two very complete teams. Let's begin with the AFC champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, he could have his hands full against this 49ers pass rush. San Fran has 44 sacks from Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, DeForest Buckner, and Dee Ford. Keep an eye on that. Also, Mahomes and Jimmy G will have weapons like Travis Kelce and George Kittle at their disposal, and that is a gift. Both tight ends have been effective when split out wide. In that formation, Kelce has over 1,000 receiving yards. Kittle catches over 80% of those passes, the two best tight ends in the league. But before the ball is even snapped, Kyle Shanahan already has his offense in motion. The Niners use pre-snap motion on an NFL high 71% of their plays this season, which has led to over 5 yards per carry and 23 rushing touchdowns. Big time numbers. If the run fails, though, San Francisco will have to lean on Jimmy Garoppolo, who, by the way, says bring it. He has the best QBR in the league when the game is within 8 points in the fourth quarter specifically. That's clutch time. Jimmy G and the Niners offense spoke to the media today.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I mean, just going through the entire process. I mean, about a year ago, I was learning how to run again. And so it's just, I don't know, when you look back on everything, and it really makes you realize, how special this moment is. So it's one of those things you can't really take it for granted. It's, I mean, you don't know if you're ever going to be back here. So got to make it count while you can.
He's just a big-time player. He's a big-time playmaker, and I love that nobody understands that. I mean, it obviously doesn't matter how well he plays on the football field because he's played well, and people are like, oh, my God, we haven't seen enough. And it's like he got his team to the Super Bowl. It's like, hey, we haven't seen enough.
All Jimmy's done is prove people wrong since he got traded here. I think he's 25-5 now. I think he has the best third down completion rating in the NFL. He has the best stats in the fourth quarter. But people can keep doubting him. It's whatever.
That's a perfect ending. It's whatever. We like our guy. Sports are on the road, presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. On that note, we bring in 27 years of NFL greatness here on set with me in South Beach, Miami Beach, Florida. Randy Moss and Teddy Bruschi, teammates for 2 seasons with the New England Patriots. And as we said, greatness for almost 3 decades. All right, here we go. Randy, we all know the numbers, right? And those guys know the numbers, but they don't care. Jimmy G, just 27 passes this postseason. That's what happens, I guess, when your running game is so good. Let's take George Kittle, the tight end, out of the mix. He's not playing. Who is his go-to receiver then, Jimmy G?
Their go-to guy's a guy that they're putting a lot on his plate. But guess what, Teddy? He's just a rookie.
Youngster.
I'm going to talk about Deebo Samuel, Sage, and what he means to the offense of the San Francisco 49ers. They throw a lot of gadget plays at you, but Deebo Samuel, he is the player that you want to be able to get the ball in his hand and let him be effective just by his explosiveness, but being able to bring in a savvy veteran because of the youth of their wide receiver core. I'm going to flip it to Emmanuel Sanders and what he's able to bring to the table for the San Francisco 49ers. You heard me talk about Deebo Samuel and how young he is, but I remember before the trade, the San Francisco 49ers was talking about bringing in a veteran that knows the game, that knows the wide receiver position. Emmanuel Sanders has been put into the 49ers offense. He hasn't disappointed yet. I see a big game coming out of the San Francisco 49ers. You're talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, Legion of Zoom. Yeah. Deebo Samuel and Emmanuel Sanders, they will show up in this big game.
And you've heard Tyrann Mathieu and other Chiefs defenders saying, we know, you're going to talk about Jimmy G. No, we fully respect him because we know the potential that those guys you just talked about have. Teddy, if the Niners cannot get that running game going, that running game that led the NFC this season, you tell me, what should we expect out of Jimmy Garoppolo? Where's he going to go?
First of all, Sage, I don't want you to get caught up in just 8 pass attempts like he did in the NFC Championship game, because he can throw the ball. He can be effective. Now, defenders still have to respect the run. And Garoppolo, what I've seen from him this year, is still able to take over a game with his arm. When I think back to the New Orleans game, when it was Drew Brees and him going up and down the field, the Niners defense, they could not stop the Saints offense. So Jimmy G had to do things with his arm, had to keep up in the scoring department, ended up finding the receivers Randy's talking about, and he could still be efficient. And I'll still say this, if they can't run it, they'll still have the play action, because defenders, you're still taught, if you see run and they're having troubles with it, you don't just forget about defending it. You still got to move to respect it, and that play action will still be there. So that's a huge weapon for them still.
And here's the thing, Andy Reid, everybody on that Kansas City side, they know better. We're going to talk about some things, but they know better than to overlook that. By the way, Garoppolo's 27 passes fewest by a quarterback entering a Super Bowl since Bob Greasy in 1973. You guys weren't even alive then. That's how long it's been.
I was a thought, Sage. I was a thought.
Much more from the Super Bowl coming up here on SportsCenter, Kevin.